All right, let's start with Ivan Puerto.
Sí.
Good morning, sir. Can you
We
tell
are
me,
connected, Your Honor.
Good morning.
are you connected now, sir?
Yes, we're connected, Your Honor.
All right. Could you tell me your full name and your date of birth, please?
Iván Enrique Puerto Parra, marzo 31 de 1984.
Iván Enrique Puerto Parra, March 31st, 1984.
All right, and do you want the public defender to represent you this morning, a lawyer?
No,
No,
Okay, you don't want someone to represent you for free this morning?
no señora.
no, ma'am.
Okay, good morning. Can you raise your right hand? Yeah. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Do you need the assistance of a Spanish-speaking interpreter?
Yes.
Okay, and we also have a witness here, and she needs the assistance of an interpreter.
Okay, Your Honor, sorry, I didn't have her in the screen.
Yeah,
Por favor, levante su mano derecha para tomar el juramento a la testigo, señora.
oh, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
¿Usted jura que dirá la verdad, toda la verdad y nada más que la verdad?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Can you tell me your full name?
Muy bien, pues puede bajar la mano.
Johanna Fernández.
Johanna Fernández.
Okay.
Por favor, espere la traducción antes de contestar.
All right, so Mr. Puerto, you are here because you were arrested for domestic violence battery, and you are out on bond on another domestic violence battery and child abuse case.
Muy bien, señor Puerto, usted está aquí porque fue arrestado por un caso de agresión en violencia doméstica y usted ya está bajo fianza por otro caso anterior de violencia doméstica y envolviendo a un menor.
And Miss Johanna Fernandez, what is it that you'd like to tell me in terms of contact with the defendant?
Muy bien, señora Johanna Fernández, ¿qué es lo que usted desea decirme en cuanto a mantener contacto con el señor Puerto Parra?
No podemos mantener contacto.
I don't want to keep contact with him.
Okay. All right, Mr. Puerto, I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I do find probable cause. I'm setting bond in that case in the amount of $1,000. If you are to bond out, you cannot have any contact with the victim in this case.
Muy bien, señor Puerto Parra. Entonces yo estoy determinando que he analizado la declaración jurada de los cargos, he encontrado causa probable, motivo fundado y por lo tanto le estoy imponiendo una fianza de $1,000. Si usted sale bajo fianza, no va a poder tener contacto con la señora Fernández en lo absoluto.
No contact means no face-to-face contact or indirect contact.
Por no contacto significa que no puede tener contacto ni cara a cara ni contacto indirecto.
You cannot possess any weapons or firearms.
No,
Tampoco va a poder poseer ninguna arma de fuego ni otra arma peligrosa.
You cannot go back to this location, to the home. You can go back one time with law enforcement to get your belongings, but after that, you cannot return.
Y no puede regresar al lugar de los eventos, o sea, no puede regresar al hogar, va a poder regresar en una sola ocasión acompañado por las autoridades para recoger sus pertenencias.
Because I found probable cause on this new charge, I'm revoking your release and I'm revoking your bond on the domestic violence battery and child abuse case. So you'll be held no bond on that.
Y como usted se le ha encontrado causa probable, motivo fundado por este nuevo cargo de violencia doméstica, yo estoy entonces revocando la fianza del caso anterior de violencia doméstica y de abuso de menores y por lo tanto ya no tiene fianza.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Muchas gracias, eso es todo y gracias a la señora.
All right, next case is Jose Garcia Perez.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, Mr. Puerto has a case number?
22 MM 7918.
7918?
Yes.
Correct.
And the previous case? The case that he had, he had bonded out?
22 CF 11762.
762. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right, next case is Jose Garcia Perez. Could you state your full name and your date of birth, please?
José García Pérez, 15 de enero de 1988.
Jose Garcia Perez, January 15th, 1988.
All right, and do you want the public defender and a lawyer to represent you for free this morning?
¿Cómo así?
I'm sorry?
Do you want a public defender who is a lawyer to represent you for free this morning?
Sí.
Yes.
Sir, you were charged with robbery with a deadly weapon, aggravated battery, petty theft, and possession of methamphetamine. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause on all 4 counts. Count 1, I'm setting bond at $5,000. Count 2, $3,500. Count 3, $500. Count 4, $1,000. If you do bond out, you are to have no contact with the victims in this case. You cannot possess any weapons or firearms. And no alcohol.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I believe that they were roommates in this case, so if you're going to have the no contact stipulation, can we have a one-time return with law enforcement?
If you live together, you can go back one time with law enforcement to get your stuff.
Ajá.
All right, thank you.
Do we have a case number, Your Honor?
22 CF 13682.
13682.
All right, next case is Lopez Ramirez. All right, good morning, sir. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Me llamo Kielman Leonardo López Ramírez.
My name is Gilman Ronaldo Lopez Ramirez.
1992, octubre 10.
October 10th, 1982.
Okay. Do you want the public defender, who is a lawyer, to represent you for free this morning?
Pues no tengo cómo hacerlo. No,
Well, I don't have the means.
They'll represent you for free. Do you want her to represent you?
sí, estaría bien.
Yes, that would be fine.
All right, I'll appoint the PD. So, sir, you are out on active pending pretrial diversion on case 22 CT 1849W for DUI. Then you picked up a driving without a valid license. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause.
Your Honor,
Yes.
may I be heard on the case he's out on?
Okay.
Your Honor, we'd ask for no action to be taken on that because he's actively in pretrial diversion. Because of that, he would have to be rejected from the program for it to go back onto the docket for the trial court. So even if it's revoked, he would just be sitting until the program decides to reject him.
State.
Yes, Your Honor, this new charge will be sent to pretrial diversion and they will take the necessary steps.
All right, I'll take no action on the pending active PTD. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Your Honor, what was his bond for the?
Oh, whoops. I don't even think I said, bond will be set at 500.
Your Honor.
No driving without a valid license.
Could the interpreter get both of those case numbers?
All right, so he's out, the DUI is 2022 CT 1075, and the new traffic ticket is, I don't have that.
22 CT 1849 AW.
1849.
All right, next case is Tamayo. Good morning, sir. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Orlando Tamayo, 10-22-49.
Fernando Tamayo, 102249.
All All right, sir, do you want the public defender to represent you for free this morning, a lawyer?
Sí, señoría.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll appoint the PD to represent you. Sir, you were arrested for DUI.
Gracias.
I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause. I'm setting bond in the amount of $500, okay?
Sí, señoría.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
That case is 22 CT
Buen día.
6691.
6691.
91. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, do we still need, do you need the assistance of a Spanish-speaking interpreter anymore? Portuguese, okay. Sir interpreter, could you make an announcement to see if we have any witnesses or victims that need the assistance of a Spanish-speaking interpreter?
Yes, Your Honor. Si hay alguna persona que sea testigo o víctima en el público y necesita traducción en español, por favor levante la mano.
All right, I don't see any hands. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Your Honor. Have a good day and a good weekend.
You too. All right, good morning. Do we have a Portuguese interpreter on the line?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Could you state your name and tell me whether or not you've been sworn?
Christina, no, I haven't.
Your full name?
Christina Lambeth,
Okay.
Do you swear to translate from Portuguese to Spanish, Portuguese to English, English to Portuguese, testimony given?
yes.
Okay. Good morning, sir. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Bom dia, senhor. O seu nome completo, por favor?
Vladimir Fonseca Costa,
E a data de nascimento?
10 de fevereiro de 1969.
February 10th, 1969. Vladimir Fonseca Costa.
All right, sir. You were arrested for leaving the scene of a crash with injuries and no valid driver's license.
O senhor foi detido, né? Porque o senhor saiu da cena ali quando aconteceu a batida, teve pessoas que se machucaram e também o senhor não tinha uma habilitação válida.
Do you want the public defender, who's a lawyer, to represent you for free this morning?
O senhor quer um defensor público, né, um advogado, para poder estar ajudando o senhor agora hoje de manhã?
Sim, senhora.
É gratuito. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll appoint the public defender to represent you.
Uhum. Eu vou então colocar um para representá-lo, tá? Um defensor público.
I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause for both counts. I'm setting bond on count 1 in the amount of $1,000, count 2 in the amount of $150.
Eu revisei aqui, senhor, e eu vi que tem uma causa plausível. E a primeira acusação tem uma fiança de $1.000. E a segunda é uma taxa de 150.
All right, thank you, sir.
Muito obrigada, senhor.
Thank you, Madam Interpreter. That's all we have.
Thank you
Okay.
for using our service. Have a good day.
All right, next case, Bell, Cedric Bell. Good morning, sir. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth, please?
Morning, Your Honor. Cedric Dwayne Bell, August 13th, 1987.
All right, I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. Thank you. I'll appoint the PD to represent you this morning. Good morning. Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and can you speak into the mic so that I hear you, okay? Can you tell me your full name?
Crystal Yvonne Gonzalez?
Okay, and Ms. Gonzalez, you're the victim in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, what is it that you'd like to tell me about contact? Do you want to have contact with Mr. Bell?
Yes, ma'am. He is the sole provider of our household.
Okay, and are you afraid for your safety?
No, ma'am.
All right, do you understand that if he does come back, that you can still call the police even though this case is open?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so I've reviewed the arrest affidavit, Mr. Bell. I find probable cause. Based on your history, though, I'm going to release you to pretrial release. You don't have to post a bond. I'll allow you to return to the home, but you cannot have any hostile contact. What that means is if it gets heated between you and her, it's on you to walk away and turn around. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
You cannot possess any weapons or firearms while this case is open. And we'll go from there. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Next case, Maxie. Good morning. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Landry Maxey, 6/21, 1983.
All right, and Ms. Maxey, do you want the public defender to represent you this morning for free?
Yes.
All right, I'll appoint the PD. Ma'am, you've been charged with battery on a person 65 years of age and older. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause. I'm going to set bond in the amount of $1,000. You cannot possess any weapons or firearms if you do post bond. You also cannot return to this location. You cannot have any contact with the victims. No contact is no face-to-face contact or indirect contact, meaning through someone that knows you and her, text message, social media, anything like that. Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, I apologize.
Yes?
Can you repeat that bond?
1,000.
1,000, thank you.
Yes. All right, thank you. Good morning, sir. Could you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Robert McMillan, 12/6/1975.
All right, sir, I'll appoint the PD to represent you this morning. Sir, you were charged with domestic violence, battery, battery to commit felony battery and criminal mischief. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I do find probable cause on all 3 counts. Count 1, I'm setting bond in the amount of $5,000. Count 2, bond is set at $1,000. Count 3, bond is set at $100. If you do bond out, you are to have no contact with the victim in this case. No contact means no face-to-face contact or indirect contact. If you and the victim live together, you can go back one time to get your belongings, but you cannot return after that. You cannot return to that location. You can get your stuff with law enforcement with you, and you cannot possess any weapons or firearms.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Rivers? Good morning, sir. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Clarence Rivers, July 20th, 1990.
All right, I'll appoint the PD to represent you. Sir, you've been charged with domestic violence battery by strangulation and domestic violence battery. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause for both. I'm setting bond on count 1 in the amount of $1,000, count 2 in the amount of $1,000. If you do bond out, you cannot have any contact with the victims in this case. No contact means no face-to-face contact or indirect contact. You are to maintain separate residences. You can go back one time with law enforcement to get your belongings. You cannot possess any weapons or firearms. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next case is Diaz. Could you tell me your full name and your date of birth, please?
Daniel Diaz, October 26, 1977.
All right, sir, you are here because you were arrested for violation of a domestic violence injunction. I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I do find probable cause. I'm gonna set bond in the amount of $1,000. If you bond out, you cannot return to this location. You cannot have any contact with the victim in this case or the witnesses. No contact means no face-to-face contact or indirect contact. No text messages, social media, no weapons or firearms, and no alcohol. Thank you, sir. Next case is Durden. Ma'am, can you tell me your full name and your date of birth, please?
Durden, 10/29/1998.
All right, and I'll appoint the PD to represent you, okay? You were arrested for domestic violence battery. I reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause. I'm setting bond in the amount of $1,000. If you bond out, you cannot have any contact with the victim in this case. No contact means no face-to-face contact or indirect contact. No weapons or firearms. Thank you.
Your Honor, can we have a one-time return with law
You
enforcement?
can go back one time with law enforcement to get your belongings. Thank you, ma'am.
I get what?
Sorry?
Okay.
Good morning, sir. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
There's Green, 2491.
All right, I'll appoint the PD to represent you. Sir, you were charged with domestic violence battery. I reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause. I'm setting bond in the amount of $1,000. If you do bond out, you cannot have any contact with the victim in this case. No contact means no face-to-face contact or indirect contact. It looks like you all reside together. You can go back one time with law enforcement to get your belongings, but you have to maintain separate residences. You cannot have any weapons or firearms. Thank you, sir. Gutierrez? Good morning. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Isabella Gutierrez, October 10th, 1999.
All right, I'll appoint the public defender to represent you this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good
Raise your right
morning, Your
hand,
Honor.
please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you tell me your full name?
Manuel Gutierrez.
Okay. And you're the victim in this case, and this is your wife, Ms. Gutierrez?
Yes.
All right. What is it you'd like to tell me about contact?
No contact.
No contact? All
But
right.
I already moved out of the house, so she can stay at the house.
Okay. All right, so Ms. Gutierrez, I find probable cause on the domestic violence battery. Based on your record, though, I'm going to release you to pretrial release. You don't have to set a bond. But you cannot have any contact with Mr. Gutierrez. No contact is no face-to-face contact or indirect contact, no text messages, no contact or social media, no contact through someone that knows you and Mr. Gutierrez. You cannot possess any weapons or firearms while you're out on bond. And you are to maintain separate residences.
Your Honor, I have a question. She has to go back to court and with the no contact, for how long is it gonna take?
Until the case is closed. No contact, okay? All right, thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. Thank you, sir. All right, ma'am. I need you to sign that order, please. And you can speak to your lawyer at a later time, okay? Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Yes, Your Honor. Antonio Ray, November 3rd, 1978.
All right, sir, I'll appoint the public defender to represent you this morning. You were charged with domestic violence battery. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause. I'm setting bond in the amount of $1,000. If you bond out, you cannot have any contact with the victim in this case. No contact means no face-to-face contact or indirect contact. You can't send any text messages or reach out through social media. No weapons or firearms, and you need to abide by the injunction that's already in place in Miami and in Orange County. You need to follow that injunction. Thank you. Ms. Green? All right, good morning. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Madeline Alexandra Green, May 20th, 1993.
All right, I'll appoint the public defender to represent you this morning. Ma'am, you're out on PTD on a possession of cocaine. You failed to appear on another case, and then I think you picked up a possession of fentanyl. I'm not going to take any action on the possession of cocaine because it's PTD, but your failure to appear, that's set at no bond, so I'm keeping that the same. On the possession of fentanyl, the new case, I'm setting bond in the amount of $1,000. All right, thank you. Hall? All right, I'll appoint the PD to represent Ms. Hall.
Your Honor, we'd waive her appearance.
All right, so she's got a warrant out for her arrest. Judge has set bond in the amount of $1,500, $100, and $100 with conditions of no return and no contact. Let me just verify. Yeah. And then she failed to appear, I think, so the bond was set at 0. I'll take no action on that and leave it the same. All right, thank you. Hudson? Good morning. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Yana Ariel Hudson Reynolds, November the 1st, 2009.
All right, I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. Ma'am, you're arrested for resisting and battery on law enforcement.
Okay.
I reviewed the arrest affidavit. I do find probable cause. All right, I'm setting bond on count 1 in the amount of $500 and count 2 in the amount of $2,500, okay? All right, thank you, ma'am.
So I say until my bond's paid?
Yeah.
This is resolved.
All right, so when do I don't,
Your public defender will reach out to you.
so I don't have another court date?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Medina? All right, I'll appoint the PD.
Your Honor, we'd waive his appearance.
All right, I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find PC. I'm setting bond on count 1 in the amount of $150, count 2, $5,000, count 3, $100,000, count 4, $150, count 5, $150. Palmer? I'll appoint the PD.
Your Honor, we waive his appearance.
I reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find PC on all three counts. Bond is set at count 1, 3,500, count 2, 150, count 3, 100, no return to the location, no contact with the victim. Randall? Are you Mr. Randall?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, tell me your full name and your date of birth, please.
John Henry Randall, 9/17/81.
All right. Do you want I'll appoint the PD to represent you. Sir, you're out on ROR on a possession of a controlled substance, and then you got arrested for possession of cocaine and resisting an officer without violence. I'm not gonna take any action on the ROR, but I'm gonna set bond on the possession of cocaine at 1,000 and resisting at 100. All right, thank you. Roberts? All right, tell me your full name and your date of birth, please.
John Henry Roberts Jr.
Oh yeah, you gotta keep your mask on.
John Henry Roberts Jr.
Mm-hmm.
August 30th, 1986.
All right. Do you want the public defender to represent you this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll appoint her. So you got a warrant out for your arrest for grand theft. A judge has set bond in the amount of $2,500. I'm gonna keep it the same. You can't go back to that location if you do bond out.
Where was this incident occurred, ma'am?
Where? Let's see. Sunglass Hut, at the Sunglass Hut.
What was the date?
You're gonna have to talk to your lawyer about that, okay? You've got a bond. Thank you. All right, thank you, sir. Sherrod? Mr. Sherrod? Thank you, sir. You can talk to your lawyer later. Good morning, sir. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth, please?
Theodore Sherrod, 28/1967.
All right, Mr. Sherrod, you've been charged with larceny, petty theft with 2 prior convictions, possession of drug paraphernalia, and fraudulent impersonation with possessing some debit cards. I'll appoint the PD to represent you. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause. Count 1, I'm setting bond in the amount of 1,000. Count 2, 500. Count 3, 500. If you bond out, you can't go back to this location. All right, the 7-Eleven. Thank you, sir. Summerstall? All right, thank you, sir. Good morning. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth, please?
Thomas Bradford Summersaw, 02/04/1975.
All right, I'm gonna appoint the PD to represent you this morning. Sir, you were charged with driving with a suspended license. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause. I'm setting bond in the amount of $2,500. All right, thank you, sir. Next case is Rios. All right. Next case is Dezenere? Okay, can you tell me your full name and your date of birth, please?
Yes, Desiree Latasha Christian, at 8/25/1988.
Okay, I'll appoint the public defender to represent you this morning. Ma'am, you're here because you were arrested for DUI. I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause.
Your Honor, she qualifies for pretrial as well.
She does?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna release you to pretrial. You don't have to post a bond, but I'll release you to pretrial. No alcohol while the case is open, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Next case? Floyd? Mr. Floyd? All right. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
I can't hear you.
Full name and your date of birth?
Floyd Jr.,
Your birthday?
11/05/63.
Okay, I'll appoint the public defender to represent you this morning. Sir, you're here because you were charged with DUI. All right, I've reviewed the arrest affidavit. I find probable cause. I'm setting bond in the amount of $2,000. All right, I find PC based on what I've read. All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Cooper? He refused. All right, I'll appoint the PD. I reviewed the arrest affidavit. Are you waiving his appearance?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, bond is set at 500, no return. Mr. Reese? All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning. Tell me your full name and your date of birth.
Albert Leroy Reese,
7/30/1960.
All right, do you want the public defender to represent you for free this morning? Okay, I'll appoint the PD. So, sir, you have an out-of-county warrant. The judge set bond at 0, so I'm going to keep it the same. All right? All right, thank you, sir. Valmont? You'll have to talk to your lawyer, okay?
Does that mean ready?
No.
No. 0. Yeah. Sir, are you Mr. Valmont? All right, tell me your full name and your date of birth.
Anthony, VALMOND, 01/26/1988.
All right, I'll appoint the PD. Do you want the public defender to represent you this morning? Okay, I'll appoint the PD. State, I don't know how this is a VOP. Like, what did he do to violate?
Since it's out of county, I don't get any other information other than it's out of county.
Okay. Ms. Cunningham?
Your Honor, I also am limited in what I get because it's out of county and we're only temporarily appointed while they're here in Orange County Jail, so.
All right, well, I can't. Where is, okay, so he's on community control out of Seminole? No. Yeah, Seminole, on a fleeing and eluding and grand theft.
Your Honor, may I have just one moment?
Yeah.
Hold on, hold on.
All right, State, what do you want to do?
Your Honor, since it's an out-of-county warrant, typically what happens is they're just stayed at whatever the county placed the bond at, and then picked up. I don't have any way to access any of the information from where he was picked up.
All right, Ms. Cunningham?
Your Honor, I don't see, so it looks like he just took a plea on the 17th of this month, and I'm in the Seminole County Clerk of Courts, and I don't even see a warrant for the VOP.
Right, I'll reset him for 24 hours for the state to produce something under oath that says he's on probation. That's so, sir, you'll come back tomorrow, okay? All right, thank you, Your Honor. Great.
It was an on-view VOP.
It's an on-view?
Yeah.
It's an on-view? Oh, but I don't have anything. I'm still gonna reset it, because I just don't even know what the on-view is. All right, thank you. Alan?
Your Honor.
All right, I'll appoint the PD.
Your Honor, we'd waive his appearance.
All right, there's a VOP warrant out for 0 bond. I'll keep it the same. Bascom?
Bonded, Your Honor.
Okay. And what about Massey?
Bonded.
And what about Stover? All right. That concludes our business. We're off the record.
Calvo Juarez, Leslie Jacqueline Enriquez Escobar, Ileana Rodriguez, and Eddie Samuel Rios Santana. Those are going to be our first 4. Okay. Who is this?
Juarez.
Oh, we have live interpreters. All right. Oh, we have, I thought you, okay.
And Your Honor, Dominique Cunningham for the Office of the Public Defender.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Dalia Romero, Spanish interpreter on the line, already sworn in today.
All right, good afternoon again, Ms. Romero.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Do you need names
to
and
the
case
headset.
numbers?
No, Your Honor. I think I have all 4 names, I believe.
Okay.
4.
Well, so I'll announce them for record purposes only then. Cobo Juarez, case number 22 CF 13704. Good afternoon, sir.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Sir, you were arrested for the charge aggravated assault with a weapon, with a deadly weapon. Oh, I'm sorry, he's got the headset. There is probable cause. You do not qualify for pretrial release conditions. I'm going to provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You can hire a private lawyer if you wish as well. I'm going to Ms. Cunningham, are you aware of the detainer,
I
federal
believe
detainer?
an immigration
Yeah.
detainer. Yes, Your Honor, there's really nothing that we can do about that.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware. All right, but for bond purposes in this case, I will set a bond. Don't have a witness here today for this case. Ms. Royal, what's the state's position with regard to amount?
Your Honor, I'd have no objection to a $500 bond, in addition to the fact that there is no witness here. Based on my reading of the affidavit, it appears that the witness in this case initiated the physical contact with the defendant. So I'd have no objection to a low bond, and I've already instructed my office to review this case again.
All right, I'm gonna set bond at $1,000. No contact with the alleged victim. No return to 1210 West Side Drive. Except one time with law enforcement to obtain personal belongings. May not possess any weapons or firearms and must maintain a separate residence. All right, is there anything else, Ms. Cunningham, that you would like to
Your
do?
Honor.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, sir. Next case, Leslie Henriquez Escobar.
Leslie Escobar.
She just put the headset on, Madam Interpreter.
Hola, buenas
Thank you,
tardes.
Your Honor. Good afternoon. Hello.
All right, ma'am. You're arrested for the charge of battery domestic violence. There is probable cause. We don't have a witness here today. Ms. Cunningham, do you have any information about whether the alleged victim was moving to Lee County or just temporarily going to Lee County?
Your Honor, I do not.
Some information on that. We did speak to the victim.
He's going out of town for work. Let me see if he is currently residing.
I saw that, but I didn't see any indication when he was coming back or if he was coming back. The indication was that Ms. Enriquez didn't want him to leave, but that doesn't mean he,
Your Honor, if I may,
yes.
based off of that information, we could do or to have separate residences, since the victim is not here at this time. That way, if he's not at the home, she's able to stay, and if he returns, they know that they need to be maintain separate residences.
All right, I'm fine with that. All right, so I'm going to set the bond on this case at $500 with no contact with the alleged victim, maintain a separate residence from the victim. Since the victim is, the alleged victim is not in town, it does raise a concern, though, about how the alleged victim can retrieve any personal belongings, because I can't very well order him to go with law enforcement. All right, I'm going to allow one-time non-hostile contact. If the alleged victim contacts you to make arrangements to obtain his personal belongings, you may converse with him to make those arrangements, but you may not be home when he comes to get his personal belongings. Or you may not possess any weapons or firearms. And other than the one-time no hostile contact that he must initiate to get his belongings, you may not have other contacts. That's kind of a
Entendido. Understood.
kind of a lopsided or odd set of circumstances, but I think that's the best thing to do under the circumstances. Ms. Burrell, anything further? Ms. Cunningham?
Your Honor.
Okay. Ma'am, do you have any questions?
Él se llevó mi hija para Fort Myers. ¿Qué debo hacer? En ese caso, mi hija tiene 6 meses.
He took my daughter to Fort Myers. What am I able to do? My daughter is 6 months old.
You'll need to visit with your public defender, and I can't give you legal advice. They can explain some of your options with regard to that domestic relations matter. I've set as low of a bond as I am comfortable setting under the circumstances. Okay.
Gracias.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, Eliana Rodriguez.
Eliana Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, you were arrested for battery, dating violence. There is probable cause. I have a question for pretrial release. Are you all different from Osceola in that you'll grant direct pretrial release without a bond in these? Okay. Correct, okay. In Osceola, it's only with monetary bond in these kinds of cases. All right, there is probable cause for your arrest. And by the way, for the other 2 individuals, I'm appointing the public defender provisionally if I didn't say that. There is probable cause for your arrest in this case. I'm appointing the public defender to represent you provisionally. I'm going to grant direct pretrial release with the additional condition that you maintain contact with the public defender's office unless and until you hire a private lawyer. Don't believe that this is a cohabitation situation. I'm going to order that you not have contact with the alleged victim. That's Roberto Martinez. And you may not return to 7603 Chancellor Drive. Ma'am, does Mr. Martinez have any personal items at your residence?
No.
No.
All right. Anything further, Ms. Royal?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham? All right, thank you. Eddie Santana. This is 22 MM 7934. Okay, let's use the headset until we take her testimony. Good afternoon, sir. All right, you were arrested for battery, domestic violence. There is probable cause. You do not qualify for pretrial release conditions. That's because of the federal probation, yeah. So your arrest in this case may affect your federal probation, but I have no control over that, and I have no authority to address that today. My concern today is to make sure you have an attorney, which I've provisionally appointed the public defender to represent you, and our private counsel as well. I found probable cause, and then the next thing I must do today is determine conditions of release for this case only. I have a witness here for that, and she's going to need your assistance as well, Ms. Romero.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so if we want to take the headset off. Ma'am, would you please raise your right hand to be sworn?
Señora, por favor, levante su mano derecha para prestar juramento.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Usted jura y afirma que el testimonio que está por presentar es la verdad, toda la verdad y nada más que la verdad.
Sí, juro.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state and spell your name.
Natalia.
The interpreter is in the headset.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Romero, you're still coming through the headset.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Díganos su nombre completo y deletréelo, por favor.
Natalia Vázquez. Natalia Vasquez.
Natalia Vasquez, Natalia Vasquez.
All right. Ms. Vasquez, how do you know Mr. Santana?
Señora Vázquez, ¿cómo conoce usted al señor Santana?
Él es mi esposo.
He is my husband.
How long have you been married?
¿Cuánto tiempo llevan de casados?
8 meses.
8 months.
Tell me what you would like me to consider with regard to conditions of your husband's release.
Dígame qué es lo que usted quiere que yo tome en consideración en cuanto a las condiciones de libertad de su esposo.
No, pues nosotros tenemos un matrimonio normal, bonito. Simplemente él ayer tomó unas copas de más y se puso un poco agresivo. Eso es todo. Pero normalmente él es una persona tranquila en la casa.
We have a normal marriage, a beautiful marriage, but yesterday he had a few extra drinks and he got a little aggressive in the house, but normally he's a calm person.
Are you afraid of him?
¿Usted le tiene temor a él?
No, realmente no. Ayer únicamente cuando estaba así, con esos tragos en la cabeza. De más.
No, not really. Just yesterday when he was like that, when he had a few extra drinks in his head. That's it.
Did you call 911 or did someone else call 911?
¿Usted llamó al 911 o fue alguna otra persona que llamó al 911?
Otra persona.
Someone else.
Would you hesitate to call 911 if you were in fear for your personal safety?
¿Usted lo pensaría 2 veces en llamar al 911 si usted sintiera algún temor por su seguridad?
No.
No.
Was yesterday the first time something of this sort had occurred?
El día de ayer fue la primera vez que algo como esto ocurrió.
Sí, así es.
Yes, that is correct.
Ms. World, do you have any questions for Ms. Vasquez?
Ms.
La señora
Vasquez,
World, si tiene alguna pregunta para la señora Vázquez.
do you wish to have contact with your husband?
Señora Vázquez, ¿usted desea tener contacto y comunicación con su esposo?
Sí, es necesario tenerla.
Yes, we need to have that.
So are you asking the court to let him come back home?
Usted le está pidiendo al juez que le permita a él regresar a la casa.
Sí, porque necesitamos hablar para decidir qué vamos a hacer.
Yes, because we need to talk to decide what we're going to do.
I don't have anything further, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham, do you have questions?
Do not, Your Honor.
All right.
Ni la señora Cunningham ni la señora World tienen ninguna otra pregunta.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'm going to set bond in this case at the relatively low amount of $1,000 with conditions that Mr. Santana may have no hostile contact with Ms. Vasquez.
Yo voy a establecer una fianza en unos $1,000, una cantidad bastante baja. El señor Santana no puede tener contacto hostil con la señora Vázquez.
You may not possess any weapons or firearms.
No puede poseer ningún tipo de armas o armas de fuego, armas mortales.
Ms. Vasquez, if there are any weapons or firearms in the home, those must be taken somewhere where Mr. Santana cannot have access to them.
Señora Vázquez, si en el hogar hay algún tipo de armas o armas de fuego, usted tiene que llevarlas a un lugar a donde el señor Santana no pueda tener acceso a ellas.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other conditions, Ms. Royal, that you would request?
No, Your Honor.
Ms.
¿Alguna
Cunningham?
otra condición que la señora Roll tenga o la señora Cunningham? No, su señoría.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
All right, I believe that's everything, Ms. Romero. Thank you so much.
Your Honor,
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Oh, wait,
Before-
we may have one.
before the interpreter gets out, can we make an announcement to see if there are any witnesses that?
Oh, yes. Ms. Romero, could you ask if there are any witnesses who require your assistance?
Yes, Your Honor. Queremos saber si en la audiencia hay alguna persona que vaya a necesitar los servicios de intérprete. Por favor, levanten su mano si hay alguien aquí afuera, detrás de la vitrina, que quiera o que necesite un intérprete. Por favor, levanten su mano en este momento.
I'm not seeing anyone respond. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, is this Mr. Green?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Green, this is case number 22 CF 13687. Mr. Green, you were arrested for the charge aggravated assault with a firearm and misdemeanor battery. There is probable cause. This is another one of those unfortunate family affairs. All right, you qualify for appointment of the Public Defender's Office. So I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. I need to set conditions of release. It's my understanding that you and your girlfriend do not live at the location where this occurred. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, perfect. All right, so you don't have a bond yet on count one. You do have a valid concealed carry permit. So what I'm gonna do under the circumstances, I'm gonna set a relatively low bond. I normally wouldn't do that on this kind of case, but under the circumstances, I think that's appropriate. I'm gonna set a $1,000 bond on count one, a $500 bond on count two. While this case is pending, did they take your gun?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I think they got it out
Yeah,
of
they
the other
got
car.
it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right. So you may not possess any weapons or firearms while this case is pending, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
If the case is not filed, you can file a motion for return of your firearm, all right? But until then, it's, you can't have one. All right, I'm going to order that you have no contact with Antoine McCoy while this case is pending, and don't return. Does he live at 728 Sherwood?
Yes, sir.
All right, so don't return there while the case is pending, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
728 Sherwood Terrace Drive. All right, Ms. Worrell, would the state be requesting any other conditions?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Take care, Mr. Green. All right, next case, Juanita Miller. This is 22 MM 7922. Good afternoon, Ms. Miller. Ms. Miller, you were arrested for the charge of misdemeanor battery. There is probable cause.
I'm trying to listen to the judge, ma'am. Could you please not say nothing else to me for the rest of your life?
Ms. Miller, you need to just calm down, please.
I couldn't hear you because you keep talking to me.
All right, well, don't do whatever you're doing and maybe she won't talk, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so there is probable cause for the battery charge, okay? And your bond is at $500. I think that the premium for that bond is the same regardless of the amount because of the minimum they charge. So I'm going to stay it at $500. Ms. Cunningham, do you know, are there any special proceedings pending in the other case, 22 CF 12-249.
I have one moment. Can I get that case number one more time?
2022 CF 12249.
Your Honor, it's set for pretrial conference January 4th.
You represented by your office in that case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have access to any notes indicating any? Let's see, it was just filed in October, so I'm just curious how many times your office has been able to interact with Ms. Miller. Ms. Royal, what, I have some concerns about competency. And the reason I raised this, in most circumstances, I would revoke her bond and order her held.
Your Honor, if I may?
Sure.
The public defender that's assigned to this case hasn't raised any competency concerns at this time. I know there was one time that they spoke briefly in the office, but based off of the course that it looks like this case is going to take, they should have more in-depth conversations where he can determine whether he has any concerns or not.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and follow the normal course and revoke the bond in 22 CF 12249. I'm going to ask Ms. Cunningham that you flag that for your office, and if there are any concerns, get it before the division judge as soon as possible. All right, so the bond in this case is $500 with condition not to return to 327 South Orange Blossom Trail and no contact with Kayla Emery or any employee of 7-Eleven while on duty. Anything further, Ms. Royal?
No, Judge.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, Judge, before I leave your courtroom, you didn't ask me to fully state my name, but may I have permission to speak, Your Honor, before I state my name, with the full understanding that anything that I say can and will be used against me in the court of law?
I think you shouldn't make any statements today, ma'am, because we're not addressing anything further on the case.
I understand that, sir, but my questions was, may I have permission to speak with the full understanding of anything that I say can and will be used against me in the court of law? Do I have your permission?
No, ma'am, because there's nothing else we're going to do today, okay? So, all right, take care of yourself. Thank you. All right, the next case is Mr. Valmond, Anthony Valmond. We have two cases actually out of Seminole County. 22-570 and 22-2649.
Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
May I be heard on this case?
Sure.
Your Honor, I believe this is the reset from yesterday. We reset it because there's really no probable cause for a basis of violation of probation in either of the reports, the arrest reports that were given. It just states that he was at a hospital and then he ended up having to be transported because of chest pains.
Because of what?
He was having chest pains, so there's no allegation of any behavior that would be a violation of probation.
Well, so this is the, one of the cases I was referring to. But the officers were there to make contact with someone who had violated their probation, is what it says, but there's no affidavit.
Yes, Your Honor.
But, let me take a look at something.
Judge, and because this was reset from yesterday, the Assistant State Attorney who had the case yesterday looked into the case to see if she could find any additional information, and there was none.
On this one, they didn't even attach the printout from the, whatever that system is they use. They did print out, though, something from DOC that says he was on active.
VFOC.
I'm sorry?
VFOC felony probation, Your Honor. I can print that document out if you need me to.
And yes, Your Honor, we're not debating whether he is or is not on probation. There's just, within the four corners of the document, there's no allegation, so there's no PC for the violation.
Well, the issue is whether there's an outstanding warrant, I think.
Your Honor, I did not see one. From my understanding, he was arrested for on-view violation of probation. When I went into the cases, there were no affidavits that had been filed.
See, this says on the VOB out-of-county warrant. Well, that's that clerk note. Let me look something. All right, I'm not finding any, looks like he was just sentenced last week.
I know it's recent, Your Honor, when we were looking at this yesterday.
11/17 on, I'm only in one case, 2649. Sentenced in 570 last week as well. So I'm going to find no probable cause for a VOP, because the affidavits don't, indicate what the alleged violation of probation was. All right, so Mr. Valmond will be, released.
Okay, Your Honor, we just have that 5-day hold in place, so I just sent my supervisors an email as to how we would handle it. We may have to put it on record to release the VFOC retainer, because we usually keep that in for 5
Isn't that for new offenses, though?
time. If it's a probation and it's a VFOC, that 5-day hold is automatically replaced. And then that gives probation 5 days to issue a warrant if they please to do so. So I'm just sending an email just to make sure.
All right, hold on a
I
second.
know.
I'm familiar with the 5-day hold, but I've always encountered it, in the context of a new crime.
Mhm.
Let me. You happen to know the statute number for that? Ms. Worrell or Ms. Cunningham, if you all know the
Let me see if.
statute providing authority for the 5-day hold for VFOs?
Your Honor, I do not, but if we ROR him after that 5-day hold is over, or if they choose to release him from that hold, he would be released at that time.
I don't even need to ROR him because I've found no probable cause. Well, so I guess
He would still need to be ROR'd because he's being held no bond.
okay, yeah. So I would ROR him, but I want to verify.
I'm still waiting.
So this is from Administrative Order 22-101.
No. He's on 3 days. Because he was reset.
And I usually send an email out to the DOC supervisor, but I believe they're closed. So that's, I'm just trying to get a response to see how we would.
Were you looking at Section D of this order?
Sorry. Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
All right, so that references Section 903.0351 Florida statutes. But this statute doesn't give rise to the 5-day hold. That's what so this statute doesn't refer to the 5-day hold. So bottom line, I'm going to grant ROR, and Mr. Valmond is to be released as soon as Florida law permits. No one's given me any authority for that 5-day hold, although it's my understanding there is such a hold for violent felony offenders of special concern. Well, I want to make sure we're all following the law. And if he has to be held, he has to be held. But the bottom line is we're not holding him until a violation of probation hearing when there's no probable cause that a violation of probation has occurred. So that's the
Yes, Your Honor, at the latest, he should be released on Monday.
Monday? Okay, great. All right. That, of course, doesn't mean the state wouldn't file an affidavit and start the process anew, I suppose. All right, Amanda Fields. All right, Ms. Fields, good afternoon, ma'am. This is case number 22 CF 13712. Ma'am, you were arrested for making a written or electronic threat concerning a mass shooting or an act of terrorism. There is probable cause. You do not qualify for direct pretrial release. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. You can hire a lawyer, or if you qualify, the court will appoint a lawyer to represent you. I'm not going to appoint the public defender unconditionally today. They're only provisionally appointed today. This affidavit is not signed by you, and there's also conflicting information between the contents that are written on the affidavit and what I'm reading in the arrest affidavit. So if it's true that you own a bar, you very well may not qualify for appointment of the public defender, but that's to be sorted out another day. Conditions of your release. I think the bond amount is reasonable. It's at $2,500. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. You may not consume alcohol or use any drugs or narcotics without a valid prescription.
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes.
there was a bond correction form filed setting her bond at 0, so I'd just like to make sure that we correct that and set a bond. If
Where
that's
was that? I didn't.
It's in the clerk of courts.
Okay.
And Judge, I'd like to be heard on this as well.
Okay, go ahead.
Judge, I have some concerns about Ms. Field's safety as well as the safety of the community based on the allegations contained herein. So the state would request a higher bond if you know, well, I'm sure she's entitled to a bond, but I do have concerns based on the allegations for her safety and the safety of the community.
Is this a punishable by life offense? Is that why it was corrected to be a 0?
One moment, Your Honor. I don't believe that it is. Your Honor, it's not. It's a second-degree felony.
All right, the charge is serious. It is, on the other hand, a second-degree felony. So Ms. Fields is entitled to a bond. Then the issue becomes the amount of the bond, and a bond that is unaffordable is tantamount to no bond.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I do understand Ms. Worrell's concerns, so I would ask the court to consider having a mental health evaluation upon her release, and that could coincide with a bond amount to make it so that both parties.
She is currently screened by, they do have a mental health detainer in place.
Do they?
She's in, yeah, she's.
Okay, so they may be doing a Baker Act.
So, Your Honor, we'd ask the court to take that into consideration when placing bond.
Yeah, I had that in mind myself. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set bond at $10,000. I think that's in line with many second-degree felonies. And I will order conditions of release, as I said, no weapons or firearms, no consumption of alcohol, no consumption or possession of drugs or narcotics without a valid prescription. And I will add that you must obtain a mental health evaluation within 5 days of your release if you are not evaluated prior to your release. And you must comply with all recommended treatment. And you must file under seal a copy of the mental health evaluation so that the court is aware of what treatment you're supposed to be getting while you're on release. Ms. Worrell, will that suffice to take care of your concerns?
No, but I understand that based on the level of the felony that Ms. Fields is entitled to a bond, I would much prefer the mental health evaluation before the court be concluded or conducted, at least, so that the evaluator can provide the court some insight on the present danger, if any, posed by Ms. Fields. But I do understand that it's a second-degree felony and she's entitled to a bond, and certainly making it higher isn't what is prescribed with regards to the setting of a bond. I do just restate for the record my concerns.
All right.
So I pulled up the mental health detainer, Your Honor. So it seems like they're in the process of sending her to CRC, Baker Act to CRC.
Okay. So it sounds like she will have that evaluation before she's.
That's what we have in Snowy.
Your Honor, may I?
You saying that?
I am, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
I apologize. Sorry, I was looking at something. Your Honor, we'd ask the court to consider giving a $5,000 bond. I did pull up the bond schedule, and a bond schedule for threats of a bomb or explosive device would be $5,000. So we'd ask the court to keep that in mind. And that is also a second-degree felony. I didn't see this one actually enumerated in the bond schedule.
I think the 10,000 is I think that's fine. It's not a huge jump. And it is commensurate with the, more commensurate with the nature of the offense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? All right. Take care of yourself, Ms. Fields. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I also received an email back from my supervisor for the VOP.
Right.
So they will be releasing Mr. Valman today. They're going to release that via FOC detainer.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Gianna Lorraine. Is that you, ma'am? All right, so this is case number 22MM7925. Ma'am, you were arrested for trespassing on property after warning.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes?
The state has given an offer for this case. It's an adjudication of guilt, 7 days in the Orange County Jail and court cost. Will the court be willing to take that today?
Sure.
He is on county probation, so a warrant may come through.
Yes, I do understand that, Your Honor, but this would get her released today. If they do want to put a warrant through, then that would be something
It's for trespass.
at a later date.
Is this so this isn't a county, this isn't a,
County probation, Your Honor.
all right. So, ma'am, raise your right hand to be sworn. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah,
All right, what's your name and date of birth?
Gina Lorraine,
Your date of birth?
Date of birth?
7/12/79.
Are you under the influence of prescription medication, drugs, narcotics, or alcohol?
Not at the moment.
All right, and how many years of school do you have?
I've been out a long time ago.
I'm sorry?
9.
And can you read and understand English?
Yeah,
Did you read this form?
yeah.
And is that your signature at the bottom? And did you ask your lawyer all the questions you wanted to ask about the form?
Yes.
All right, and do you have any complaints about her representation?
No.
All right, do you understand that by signing this plea form, you're giving up all of your trial rights that are listed on the form and most of your appeal rights?
Yes.
All right, and is that what you want to do?
Yes.
And so you're going to be adjudicated guilty and sentenced to 7 days in the jail with credit for time that you've been served. 2 days credit. Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
We don't have a witness here today. You know what, counsel, I'm going to change my mind. I'm not going to take the plea because I think the alleged victim has a right under Marcy's law to be heard. And I want to make sure that Ms. Lorraine doesn't go back. And if I accept this plea, I'm limiting that. And I need to hear, because there's a family dynamic in play here.
Your Honor, I understand, but I'd ask the court to take that into account when placing a bond because she's going to have to stay here and she's going to be here for longer than 7 days.
Excuse me? What?
All right, so, the public defender is provisionally appointed to represent you. There is probable cause for the arrest. All right, so the bond is going to be set.
No bond. Well, I don't, it takes 31 days for probate, for trespassing.
All right,
I don't need no, but why I won't get 7 days?
You won't take it right now.
all right, ma'am, you'll need to talk to your lawyer. So I'm going to set your bond at, I'm going to leave it set at $500. No contact with the alleged victim. No return to 740 Sherwood Terrace Drive, number 105. Actually, no return to 740 Sherwood Terrace Drive. All right. I appreciate the effort to get Ms. Lorraine out, and I normally would do that, but under the circumstances, I think we need to hear from the family. Okay, are you Ms. Gonzalez? Madeline Gonzalez Pagan?
Yes.
All right, 22 MO 1302. Ma'am, you were arrested for disorderly conduct. There is probable cause. I'm provisionally appointing the Public Defender's Office to represent you. All right.
What language? She speaks Spanish.
Ms. Cunningham?
She stated that she needs a Spanish translator.
I don't know if we can get one. Let's see if we can get Ms. Romero back on. I'm sorry? Yeah.
Your Honor, will the PD's office be provisionally appointed, or are we going to be appointed?
Provisionally, because the application was not signed.
Okay.
So, I mean, she's got you, but just not.
I would like to waive her appearance so that we can continue, and then I can have public defender reach out to her and let her know what's going on.
Okay.
The issue is if we're only provisionally appointed, once she leaves here today, we're done. So she would have to be appointed to my office for me to do that.
Well, is there a reason she wasn't able to sign before?
We can have her sign it.
Yeah, why don't
May I approach?
you all do that? But it's in English, so I don't know that she knows what she's signing if she doesn't.
Full interview in English with us when we interviewed her.
Oh, you did?
Yes, everything was English. Yes, Your Honor. Or else we would have made a note of it, but that's.
All right, well, let's just reset it then. Ms. Cunningham, if she spoke English to the pretrial release folks, we don't need to go down that path. Okay?
Your Honor, she was unable to sign because she was in lockdown.
Okay. Okay, good enough. All right, thank you. All right, appreciate it. So I'm appointing the Public Defender's Office to represent you, ma'am. You want to waive her
Yes, Your Honor.
appearance? All right, so bond will remain at $500. No return to the Sunrail platform at 101 West Livingston Street unless you are buying a ticket to ride the train. I'm sorry? Oh, no, it'll remain at $250. I'm sorry, I thought it was $500.
It's
It'll remain as set,
at $250?
yes. All right, Luke Segrist.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
I'm sorry? All right, who's appearing for Mr. Segrist?
Judge, my name is Dennis Quintana on behalf of Mr. Segrist.
All right, Mr. Segrist. So you were arrested for burglary of a dwelling with an assault or battery. There are two counts for that. Battery, dating violence, and battery. Those are the four charges. You don't have a bond on the first three. Your bond on the battery count is $500. There is probable cause for your arrest. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you apparently have retained private counsel. This is an Arthur-type situation typically, but the circumstances are, I get it. Ms. Worrell, would the state be moving, if not today, if in front of a division judge for zero bond under proof evident presumption? Great.
I just need one moment, Your Honor. I've been waiting to get the warrant on this case because all I have is the affidavit of the warrant being executed, and my assistant told me that it just came in.
Okay,
So if I could just have one moment to review it.
sure.
Not sure if the court wants to pass on this one and come back to it.
Can you all do that? I'm not sure what the mechanics look like in the
Judge,
back.
sometimes justice takes time. We'll wait.
Okay, let's do that. Let's keep things moving and then recall.
sir.
Okay? I'm just not sure what the queue looks like behind the doors.
Yeah, I want to read the warrant before I make
It's a little bit odd situation.
well, you know, defense has provided me with a declination, but I want to see the warrant before I
Okay.
say.
All right, Darian Mackey, Darian Mackey. There are two cases for Mr. Mackey.
That's not Mr. Mackey.
That is not Mr. Mackey. All right. What's your name, sir?
McCoy.
McCoy. Antoine McCoy.
Yeah.
All right. Who's appearing for Mr. McCoy?
Rodney Ulysses. Sorry about that. Rodney Ulysses for the defense.
Say the last name again?
Ulysses, Ulysses.
Ulysses, okay. Thank you, sir.
And if it's possible, the defense would like time for arguments against probable cause determination this morning.
All right. Sir, you were arrested for battery domestic violence. You're entitled to be represented by counsel, and you have private counsel here with you. Go ahead with your argument, counsel.
Your Honor, according to the Florida Rule of Criminal Procedure 3.1133A1, Mr. McCoy is entitled to a non-adversary hearing this morning. And further, the standard of proof for 3.133 is the same standard of proof that the judge issuing a warrant would determine. As a result, the judge in this case is empowered to hear evidence and make some kind of determination. The procedure is whether or not the officer had probable cause, and the judge gets to determine from looking at the totality of the circumstances what the officer knew if they had probable cause. The facts in this case are very clear. They were at Mr. McCoy's house for a family gathering. He just turned 18 years old. The victim in this case is his sister, his older sister. His sister did not call the police that night. Mr. McCoy here called the police that night. The victim did not sign any sworn police statements, anything of that nature. And there were several witnesses. I provided the state with sworn affidavits from witnesses that were at the home because of the Thanksgiving gathering. Family members were there. And they all said that Mr. McCoy did not do anything wrong. He did not initiate anything. And at the very best, all he did was defend himself. According to the totality of the circumstances, the officer's sworn affidavit should not be able to reach probable cause because it is the defense's position that the officer decided not to listen to the family members at the home, not to take Mr. McCoy's statements. And as I stated before, the sworn statements are here and have been provided to the prosecutor, and they can be provided to the court as well.
All right, Ms. Royal, does the state have a response?
Your Honor, my reading of the affidavit from law enforcement states that they spoke with Shalonda, the victim in this case, and she stated that the battery occurred against her from Mr. McCoy. Now, while there is no sworn statement attached, I believe that the sworn affidavit is sufficient. Defense has provided me with some statements from other family members. However, I don't see one by Miss Shalonda, who is the alleged victim in this case.
All right. Counsel, does Mr. McCoy live at 728 Sherwood Terrace?
Yes, Your Honor, that's where he lives. And the victim does not live there.
Shalonda does not live there.
No, Your Honor. He was actually at his home all this happened at his home, not Shalonda's home.
All right.
And if we may, anything Shalonda said to the police officer is hearsay without any hearsay exceptions.
Well, this is probable cause, all right, and it's a very low standard. All right, I do find probable cause. I'm going to set bond at a relatively low amount of,
Your Honor, you did qualify Mr. McCoy for straight PTR.
did you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you qualify for straight PTR. So I'm going to grant pretrial release conditions. You may not have any contact with Shalonda McMiller. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. That means if any weapons or firearms are in your home, your parents are going to have to get rid of them before you come home because you can't have access to any weapons or firearms. All right.
Would that be surrendered within 24 hours upon release?
I'm sorry?
Would that be surrendered within 24 hours?
No, I'm just saying he can't possess weapons or firearms, and if there are any at that home, he can't go to that home because he would be in constructive possession of them. So it's going to be up to him to make sure that his family makes the necessary arrangements to get rid of them. So no contact and no weapons or firearms. You weren't living together, so we don't need to address that. Anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, Your Honor.
All right, anything else, Mr. Francis?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. McCoy. All right, who's next? Do we have Darian Mackey back there? Mr. Mackey? All right, who's appearing with Mr. Mackey?
Joseph Knapp on behalf of Mr. Mackey.
And Mr. Knapp,
We wish to be heard on bond if the court would consider.
yeah, hold on just a second. It seems we've got a couple of cases here. So 22 MM 7926, resisting an officer without violence, was the basis for the arrest. There is probable cause. The second case, 2017 CF 5657, is a violation of probation. And an on view, a violation of probation. All right. All right, so you're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. You've got Mr. Knapp with you. Mr. Knapp, what would you like to argue with regard to conditions?
We're okay on the bond for the resisting an officer without violence charge. We don't ask that to be changed at all. We ask that you set a bond on the on-view violation. Mr. Mackey had about 3 weeks left on his probation. He's accused of not following an officer's commands by exiting a motor vehicle during a traffic stop. Spoken with Ms. Royale. She doesn't have an objection to you setting a bond here today, and we would just ask for that bond to be set at a reasonable amount, preferably under $1,000.
All right, of course, the original stop was for something really simple.
It's kind of strange because it's like he has the car registered, the tag was lost or stolen, and it just, no, he hasn't got it replaced yet, so.
Yeah, I get it, but shouldn't be driving without it. Ms. Royal, do you have an objection to the bond on the VOP?
No, Your Honor, I don't have objection to the bond.
All right, it's a unique circumstance. Seems like everything is unique today and it's taking forever. All right, so I'm going to leave bond at $500 on 22 MM 7926. With regard to the probation violation, normally I would not set a bond, but under the circumstances and with the state's consent, did he ever have a violation probation? Why hasn't it been terminated by now?
Unfortunately, there was a past violation about 3 years ago that was resolved with him going back on. So like I said, he's gonna, hopefully, we don't see a warrant issued in this case and he can terminate naturally at some point in the next few months. But I know we understand that probation will toll during the time of the violation, so
Right.
he's aware.
All right, I'll set bond on the VOP at $500. Continue reporting as a condition of that bond. Complete all requirements of probation. If you have any community service hours, you got to do those. You're just reporting now? That's all you're doing? All right, well, just keep reporting when you're supposed to report. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. It didn't say, and I don't have an affidavit, so I don't know if he was on probation for one or both.
Did you need a case number?
It's only one count because one was a misdemeanor. That would have been over by now.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Ms. Royal, have you been able to look at Mr. Segrist's affidavit yet?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm looking at it as we speak. I am ready to go forward on that.
All right, let's bring Mr. Segrist back in if we can.
You too.
Thank you, Your Honor, for your courtesy in calling him back.
Well, thank you for your patience today. It's
No worries. Like I said, sometimes justice takes time, you know, and I commend you because it's your Saturday too. But you're taking the time to actually, you know, do everything you can to get it right. So I greatly appreciate that.
pass it around, please.
Yeah, no, I already told her, I'm like, man, I've never seen the prosecutor at the jail on a weekend holiday. I'm like, that's impressive. You're leading by example. Anyway.
All right. So what's the state's position, Ms. Worrell?
Judge, counsel has provided me with a declination from Ms. Sanchez in this case, and it is signed and notarized. I have read over the warrant, and based on the facts, I don't have any objection to a bond in this case.
All right. It is another unique circumstance. The charges kind of belie the facts, I think. So as I said before, Mr. Segrist, you were arrested for burglary of a dwelling with an assault or battery, dating violence, and misdemeanor battery. There is probable cause. Under the circumstances, I'm going to set your bond on counts 1 and 2 at $1,000 each, and on count 3 at $500. So you're gonna have a total bond of $3,000, okay? Conditions of bond are that you may not have contact with the alleged victims. You may not return to the location of the alleged offense, which is 3409 Chatsworth Lane. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. No contact, Mr. Quintana can tell you, but that doesn't just mean visual, it also means no telephonic or social media or text message or skywriting or message in a bottle. No communication, no contact of any sort, directly or indirectly, not even through a third person, okay? Any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, sir.
Mr. Quintana?
Well, sir, again, thank you for your courtesy and your patience to both of you.
All right, thank you. Is this Ms. Baker?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Elia Baker. And this is 22 CF 13688. Ms. Baker, you were arrested for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, domestic violence. There are 2 counts of that, and battery, domestic violence. There is probable cause for the arrest. I see a witness in the witness room. Would you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right. Would you state your name and spell it, please?
Yes, my first name is Lakeisha, last name White, LAKISHAWHITE.
All right. And Ms. White, you're identified as a victim in this case. What would you like for me to consider with regard to conditions of release for Ms. Baker?
I'm asking for no contact in regards, and the reason for that is because not just of the situation at hand, but it's been multiple occasions. This is the first time I've actually called authorities to help with the situation, but multiple threats on my life, on her siblings' life, other people. This reaction hasn't just been with us, but it's been at the workplace, other places as well. At this point, I really just want help for my daughter. I've tried to help her the best that I can in regards to everything, and I know that I'm the person I can't help her anymore. So I really would like her to get, if she can get any type of anger management, mental health evaluation, drug, alcohol, anything that can help her, because at the end of the day, I want her to be successful, but she can't continue on in life the way that she is, because I have a fear that something is really going to end up happening to her, you know, or she's going to end up causing harm to herself, myself, which she's came after a couple times, and then others as well. So I really just want her to get the help that she needs so that she can move forward and be successful in life, because I can't do it anymore.
Okay. Ms. Royal, do you have any questions for Ms. White?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
Just a few. Do you guys reside together?
I brought her back to the location where I've been at because she said she was in a situation where she had nowhere to go, that she needed help. I've had to put her out in the past due to the situation as well. So she was staying with me at the time when this situation happened, yes.
Okay, but is it your home or hers?
It's mine.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
And is your residence at 4855 South Orange Blossom Trail?
Yes, that is the current residence where we're staying at.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Baker, I'm good. I'm going to set your bond at $1,000 on counts 1 and 2, and at $500 on count 3 for a total bond of $2,500. Conditions of bond are that you may not have contact with Lakeisha White or Ortez Baker Jr. I believe there was a third party as well. Daniel Sheffield is a witness, no contact with him. And there's a reference to a third victim, but I don't see the name. You may also not return to 4855 South Orange Blossom Trail. You may not use any drugs or narcotics without a valid prescription. May not possess any weapons or firearms. If you go within 500 feet of your mother or brother or the place they live, you'll be in violation of the no contact order, as well as if you try to communicate with them, okay? In that case, your bond would be revoked. So no contact and no return are the two main things in that regard, as well as the other conditions I announced. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
Will I be able to pay my own bond?
I'm sorry?
Will I be able to pay my own bond?
I'm not hearing you. Ms. Cunningham, do you want to?
Yes, you have a bond and you can pay it.
Yeah. And PD is provisionally appointed. Yes, thank you. All right, Cornisha Garris. Afternoon, ma'am. All right, this is 22 CF 13690. Ms. Garris, you were arrested on the charge of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, domestic violence. There is probable cause. I'm going to provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. We don't have a witness here today. All right, I'm going to set your bond at $1,000. No contact with the alleged victim, Desmond Garris. You must maintain a separate residence. If you have personal items in a shared residence, I'll give you a one-time return with law enforcement to get your personal belongings. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. Ms. Cunningham, is there anything else you would ask me to address?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I do have a concern, I'm sorry. She does reside in Texas, so she is here on vacation. She does plan on returning back on Tuesday, so can you put a condition that she may return back to Texas?
You may return back to Texas. I'm going to leave the bond set at $1,000. I don't know that doubling it really accomplishes anything except cost you another $100. But but I'll allow you to go to Texas. You can hire a lawyer if you qualify for the public defender. Once you complete the required affidavit, counsel would be appointed, but that's if you qualify. So You can visit with the public defender about whether you should fill out the affidavit, because if you fill out the affidavit, it costs you even if you don't qualify, okay? Do you have any questions, ma'am?
What do I supposed to do? Because we were staying at the resort together. He has the kid, all the kids with him.
Is he still in town?
Yes.
So one time with law enforcement, you can go there to get your personal belongings.
Yeah.
Well, visit with your attorney, because you can't have, he can pay your bond, but you can't have contact with him directly.
Your Honor, my concern with the no contact is they're not supposed to be within 500 feet of each other, and they're on the same flight back to Texas.
Ms. Worrell, any,
And he's not here? 'Cause
he's not here.
I understand that. I don't know if we can put just a provision that they are able to be on the flight. But I don't want her to get in trouble for getting on the same flight as him when they have
Right.
the same flight back to Texas.
Well, it
My
seems like
concern
they,
too is that if they're on the same flight, they're likely sitting next to each other on the same flight, so.
unless it's South, are you flying Southwest?
No.
No, okay, well, yeah, they may, is your seat with him?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just makes no contact not feasible under the circumstances.
right.
However-
Why don't we make it non-hostile contact for purposes of getting home? And then having the no con, from what I read, it seems like you're about to part ways. And you both know that, it sounds like.
There's still no contact, right?
No contact after returning to Texas. And, and I want you staying somewhere apart from him before you leave back to Texas. So get with law enforcement to go back to the resort to get your personal belongings. You're gonna have to make arrangements to be somewhere else until you depart, okay? And no hostile contact at the airport and on the airplane. And if there's an upset, I'm sure it'll be on the news, so we'll all know. But anyway, okay, good luck. Goodness. Jonathan Gonzalez. All right, that's you. All right. Good afternoon, sir. This is case number 22 CF 13703. Sir, you were arrested for battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting officer with violence, and battery domestic violence. There is probable cause. All right. I'm going to provisionally appoint the public defender's office. Well, actually, you've signed an affidavit, so I'll appoint the public defender to represent you. I don't have a witness here for you today. So your bond on count 1 is $2,500. Your bond on count 2 is $1,000. Bond on count 3. I'm going to set a relatively low bond on that, $500, but here's the catch. You may not return to 4213 South Cimarron Boulevard. You may not have contact with Carrie Gonzalez. You may not have contact with Martha Gonzalez. All right, if you can go one time with law enforcement to get personal belongings from the house, but otherwise you can't be around there, and you can't be around where your mother and your sister work or hang out. Any questions? No, sir. May not possess any weapons or firearms either. Anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Non Nguyen. This is 22 CF 7577. and 22 CF 13708. So I'm going to provisionally appoint the public defender to represent you. You're entitled to have a lawyer. You can hire one if you wish as well. I think I read that you are represented by Mr. Ledan in another case, maybe? Okay. All right. Sir, you were arrested in this case for obstructing justice, hindering communication with law enforcement, tampering with a witness to hinder communication. Also, criminal mischief of $1,000 or more, and misdemeanor battery. There is probable cause for the charges. I have a witness over there, so would you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. State your name and spell it, please.
Gwen, Gwen, Pham, Pham.
All right, and Ms. Pham, what is your relationship to the defendant?
I'm with this guy for more than 12 years, Your Honor.
All right, and are you married?
I never married to him.
Okay. All right, what would you like the court to know with regard to conditions of release?
I wish he do not release, because what happened is I've been with this guy 12 years. He's a narcissist, and he is manipulator. He's very controlling, and he's an alcoholic and a drug addict. And he'd been abusive me throughout the whole relationship. Before, he will apologize and promises and all that. And because I was in love with him, I always trust that he would change for the better. But after I have 2 kids with him, he used my 2 boys. My 2 boys, he knew better, that they are my everything. And since then, he used my kids to go against me. I was here not long ago in this spot back in July of this year. The same reason. He was supposed to be no bond because they the judge then saying that they revoke his DUI and they take his driver license away. And he shouldn't have contact with me whatsoever. But the moment he returned to jail, he picked up that call and called me constantly, 10 times a day, begging me to get him out and drop the case. And I have to call his attorney and use my own money to bond him out within 7 days. But those 7 days, he contact me, he contact my kids, telling my kids to convince me to forgive him. But at that time, his driver was taken away. The moment he come home, he drive right away. And then he was on probation not to drive at all, because every time he drive his truck, he had to blow in the tube to make sure there's no alcohol. What he did, he took my car and drive with drinking with my kids in the car. And yesterday, I was get back from my parent in Georgia for Thanksgiving. He hold my kids. He would not let my kids be with me. And I realized when I come home, my bedroom door was gone. And I was tired. I wanted to take a nap. So what I did to make it a little feel privacy, I get the cushion on the sofa and kind of tuck on the door to cover for my privacy. He come in and he raised his voice and he start cussing. And I suggest by my attorney that get my phone up and tell him, I'm recording you for whatever you did today to be evident in court. And that's what I did. I take up my phone and record and let him know that I record him. And the moment he realized like that, he ran over and he pulled my hair, tried to rip the phone out my hand. So I chased him out to the garage. He hold my head and bang it on the concrete. And then I would get so scared, I get up, I run out in the middle of the street, and there's a driver drive by. And she the one who called 911. Why we was out there doing that? He in there burned my phone pour gasoline on the phone and burn my phone. So whatever evidence that he abused me verbally throughout this whole ordeal was on the phone, and he's just burned it already, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Worrell, do you have any questions for witness?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right. So I'm going to set your bond on count one at $5,000. I'm going to set your bond on count two at $2,500. Your bond on count three will be $5,000 for a total of $12,500. Conditions of bond: you may not return to 1907 Whitehall Drive. You may one time with law enforcement retrieve some personal belongings. You may not have contact with Ms. Pham. May not possess any weapons or firearms. You may have contact with Ms. Pham regarding child custody or visitation only through a third person. So you may not directly contact Ms. Pham, and any communication regarding the children must be only about the children and must be non-hostile.
Your Honor.
You must maintain a separate residence. Your release in case number 22 CF 13708 is revoked.
Your Honor, may I be heard on that?
No. I'm sorry? 2020 CT? Oh, okay, thank you, 2020 CT 1126. All right, anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Cunningham, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Can I say something?
We're done. You can visit with the state attorney if you have anything else you need to say, okay? All right.
Can I take my
Mr.
mask down?
Lovett. Tyvon Lovett. All right. Is that you, sir?
How you doing, sir?
I'm well, thanks, sir. This is 22 CF 10628. Mr. Lovett, you were arrested for domestic battery by strangulation, battery domestic violence, and assault domestic violence. Right, there is probable cause for your arrest. I have a witness here in the witness room. Would you raise your right hand to be sworn, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Would you state and spell your name, please?
Deal Money Barr, D-E-O-M-O-N-I, Barr, B-A-R-R.
All right. Ms. Barr, what would you like for me to know for purposes of release?
Well, for one, I don't want to press charges. I want the charges dropped. And two, I would still like to have contact with him. We are still in a relationship and we do live together. We do have a child on the way. So,
All right. Are you afraid of him?
no, not at all.
Why does the affidavit refer to Mr. Lovett as your ex-boyfriend?
That what the incidents that are I guess recorded in the records are from months ago. We are in a relationship.
All right, so you're in a relationship with him after he put a gun to your head, according to the affidavit?
Yes, sir.
Having a gun put to your head doesn't put you in fear of Mr. Lovett?
No.
If he did something that put you in fear, would you call the police for help?
Yes, but that's unlikely.
Ms. Worrell, do you have questions?
Can I?
I don't have any questions, Your Honor, but I would like to be heard.
Okay, do you have any questions, Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Worrell,
Sir, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Is it all right if I say something?
what do you want to say?
The incidents that happened, I just want to put out there, he did not put his hands on me. He did not hit me at all. At all. The calls that were made were by family members, my mother and my auntie. And the reason why they called is because they've been in a domestic relationship, and once they feel like, they see it, they're going to act upon it because they would not want me to go through it. But he has not put his hands on me.
All right, Ms. Worrell, do you have argument?
Judge, I just ask that there be no contact as a condition of release.
All right. Ms. Cunningham, do you have argument?
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Before our argument, I do have one question for the witness. I apologize.
Okay.
Ma'am, since the incident that is referred to on September 9th, 2022, has there been any instances of violence between you two?
Oh, man, we have been great, planning for our child, raising money and getting ready. We've been perfect.
And if you don't have any contact, is that going to be a hardship for you?
Yes, extremely. He's the only person I want to wake up to in the morning, want to go to sleep with.
Your Honor, no further questions. I do have argument.
Okay. Ms. Worrell made hers. Go ahead.
Your Honor, I do understand Ms. Worrell's position as to the no contact, but based off of the representation by the witness, she stated that she's not in fear. This instance did happen September 9th of 2022. She stated that there has been no acts of violence between the two of them, and if they could have no contact at this time, it would be a hardship. So for that reason, we'd ask for no hostile contact.
Okay. Well, here are a couple of things. The allegations are very serious. Of course, I have no idea if they're true. They're just allegations at this point, but they are very serious and concerning. And I'm also concerned about the possibility of undue influence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a bond and set some conditions and kind of punt this to the division judge, who can have a hearing and take more evidence. If there are any jail calls that shed light on circumstances, the state would be able to produce that at that time. So with regard to count 1, I'm going to set bond $5,000, count 2, $5,000, count 3, $5,000, for a total of $15,000 bond. I am going to order no contact until the division judge can review the case and take evidence. If the parties share a residence, there can be a one-time return with law enforcement. Mr. Lovett may not possess any weapons or firearms, and any firearms in the home would have to be surrendered before his release. Release in 22 CF 4420 will be revoked. The well, that's, no, just put no possession of any weapons or firearms. That's the most I can do. He can't surrender something that he doesn't have access to. I did appoint the PD. He does qualify, and he did sign the affidavit. Okay. All right, thank you.
No.
All right, Holly McNulty.
Please behave, Your Honor.
All right, reset for tomorrow.
Your Honor, if we were appointed, I would waive her appearance.
Okay. Well, you're provisionally appointed only. Can you waive her appearance with a provisional appointment?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so there is probable cause. I'm going to set bond at $1,000 on count 1, $500 on count 2. She may not have contact with Diane McNulty. They must maintain a separate residence.
I'm sorry, what was the amount of bond, Your Honor?
1,000 on count 1 and 500 on count 2.
Thank you, Judge.
No weapons or firearms.
No, I gave it back to him.
No contact. And no return to 5403 Jean Drive unless one time with law enforcement. Anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, sir.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then the next would be, who is next?
Mr. William Grant is behavior also.
All right, Mr. Grant, that will be reset for tomorrow.
Your Honor, we'd waive his appearance also.
All right. So he was arrested for battery. There is probable cause. He qualifies for direct pretrial release, but I'm not going to do that under the circumstances. I'll set bond at $1,000. May not return to 4901 Lake Millie Drive except one time with law enforcement to obtain personal belongings, no contact with the alleged victim, no weapons or firearms. Anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, sir.
Ms. Cunningham?
No.
All right, and then, is this Ms. Holzhauer?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Holzhauer, yours is case number 22MM7929. Ma'am, you're arrested for battery domestic violence. There is probable cause. As I understand it, you are the person who owns or pays rent at 5085 Palomino Way, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there another place you can stay while this case is pending?
At my sister's house.
I'm sorry?
At my sister's.
Okay. All right, so based on the charge and the facts, I'm going to order that you not have contact with your son. I'm going to order that you maintain a separate residence, and so you'll need to stay with your sister while the case is pending. You can return one time with a law enforcement officer to get some personal belongings from your home. If your son moves out, you can move back to your home, but you'll need the court's permission, so you'll have to go to court to have that happen, okay? I'm going to set bond.
Friend, we qualify Ms. Holzhauer straight.
Straight pre-TR, okay, so I'll grant that then. I'm also going to make a condition, Ms. Holzhauer, that you obtain a mental health evaluation within 30 days and you comply with all recommended treatment, okay? And that you provide that evaluation to pretrial release so that they can verify what recommended treatment, what treatment is recommended, okay?
Thank you, sir.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you because you do qualify. All right, anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
Eric Lorenz?
Sir.
All right, Mr. Lorenz, good afternoon. Sir, you were arrested for battery, domestic violence, and misdemeanor battery. There is probable cause. I have a witness there in the witness room. Ma'am, raise your right hand to be sworn, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, tell me what you would like for me to hear and consider.
First of all, I'd like to ask if you had read the pretrial notes that I had given.
I've read the arrest affidavit. That's all I have seen.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd just like to say that this was a severe case. We had a mutual agreement to have my father pick up have him pick up, I'm sorry, I still have a concussion, so I'm a little out of it. To have him and his wife and my father pick up his things from our home.
His things, meaning your
No.
brother's?
No, my father's things from our house, and they were gonna pick them up. And within 5 minutes of arriving to our home, he immediately attacked my husband and threw him over an air compressor. And then threw me on the garage floor, causing my head.
That's all in the affidavit. I've read all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
My husband, myself, and my daughter, we're in fear of our life. I know Mr. Lorenz here has multiple AK-47s. He's said plenty of times that he's ready for, the zombie apocalypse. I wish that he gets his assault rifles and his weapons out of his home. prior to his release, that's a definite. And on top of that, I may have permanent damage to the vision in my right eye. I don't know what else to say. I have my other family members here as well.
Is Mr. Lorenz married?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Anything else you wish to say, ma'am?
Oh, just that we don't want any contact. I would love an injunction, a restraining order, and nothing to do with him.
Well, this is a criminal court. The injunction part is another,
I get that.
another division of the court. Ms. Royal, do you have any questions?
I do not, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No questions, just argument.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Royal, well, let me finish my part of this. So I'm going to appoint the public defender to represent you because you seem to qualify, although if you have a bunch of firearms, you might not qualify. But I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you based on the affidavit in front of me. Ms. Worrell, argument?
Judge, I would ask, of course, that there would be a bond set in the amount of $5,000. I'd ask that there be no contact with the victims in this case and that the defendant be required to surrender all firearms. I don't know how we could accomplish that prior to his release, but based on the testimony of the witness here today, it seems that it would be within the best interest of the safety of both the victims and the community if those firearms were surrendered.
All right. Ms. Cunningham?
Your Honor, we'd ask for a $500 bond or a pretrial release. He does qualify for straight PTR. The reason being, reading the affidavit, all three of them are listed as defendants and victims.
No.
The officer did make a decision to send the information to the state attorney's office for Ms. Nicole Steffen and Craig Steffen for the state attorney's office to determine charges, but all three of them are listed as defendants and victims. So we'd like the court to take that into consideration. I do understand the concern with the firearms, but I don't think that there's any way to have those surrendered before his release. It can be a condition of bond or PTR.
Can I say something though too?
For it to be surrendered, but I don't see any way that we could ensure that they're surrendered before his release. I believe there's a way to do a 24-hour surrender.
Okay.
Ron, if you do decide to do the PT, the bond, or as far as the PTI, all that information was verified. So if you do the
What
bond or,
information was verified?
well, we verified community ties, residential information, so that's why we qualified him for straight PTR, but I know the public defender was asking for bond or PTR. So that means we would have to go back and have him sign paperwork when we explained everything, you know, the first time, so pretty sure at your discretion.
Oh, I wanted to clarify my argument. I wasn't asking for you to rule bond or PTR. I was asking for you to either give a lower bond or to give him PTR, whichever you would be ruling on.
Yeah, based on the allegations, and I note that the circumstances do indicate that Ms. and Mr. Steffen are listed as victims and defendants as well, but there's obviously a toxic relationship, and I don't know the roots of it.
The roots of it, Your Honor, if I could say.
Ma'am,
No,
this is a first appearance, so it's not,
I get that.
it's not to flesh out the case. All right, I'm going to set bond at $5,000 on count one. I'll leave bond at $500 on count two. The bond would be substantially higher if the facts are a little clearer. So that's a pretty low bond based on what I'm reading, but the facts are murky, so I'm not going to make it any higher. I'm going to order no contact with Nicole or Craig Stefan. No return to 8696 Contura Drive. No contact with the Stefan's daughter either. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. I'm going to,
I'm sorry, can I say something, sir?
no, sir. Today is just to set terms of your release. Your attorney can get you in front of a judge to address anything you want to have fixed. I'm going to order that all weapons or firearms in your home be surrendered by your wife to law enforcement before your release. And if there are no weapons or firearms in the home, your wife is to execute a sworn declaration to that effect. And you may not possess any weapons or firearms. Ms. Worrell, are there any other conditions the state would ask?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Geneva Moses, 22 MM 677. All right, Ms. Moses, good afternoon. Ma'am, you were arrested for misdemeanor battery. There is probable cause. There's a witness in the witness room. Raise your right hand to be sworn, please. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. State your name and spell it, please.
Jania James, Jhannia James.
All right, thank you, Ms. James. What would you like for the court to know with regard to conditions of your mom's release?
I would like for her to be released. It was actually an incident that prolonged further than what it was supposed to be. It could have actually been handled very differently, and that's all I have to say.
All right, are you afraid of your mom?
No,
All right, do you live with her, or does she live with you?
I live with her for the moment.
All right, and if your mom did something that made you in fear, would you hesitate to call for help?
No,
Are you asking me to allow your mom to return home and to have non-hostile contact with you?
yes,
All right. Did you find her car keys?
yes.
All right. Ms. Worrell, do you have any questions?
I don't, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Ms. Moses, I'm going to, let's see, you qualify for direct pretrial release, so I'm going to order pretrial release. You may have non-hostile contact with your daughter, okay? Which means you can return home. No weapons or any firearms, so if you have any in the house, you have to get rid of those, okay? But anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Provisionally, there's no application here, so PD is provisionally appointed. If there are no weapons to surrender, she has to a sworn declaration to that effect, that there are no weapons in the home to surrender. Yes. All right, Derek Novembre. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, you were arrested for battery domestic violence. There is probable cause. I don't see anyone here on the case. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you because you do qualify for representation by them. Ms. Worrell, do you have any argument regarding bond?
I do not, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
Your Honor, we just asked for a reasonable bond to be set.
It's too bad we don't have a witness here. Sir, do you have a place to live if you can't go back to your mom's?
I can search around.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I can search around if I leave, if and when I leave.
Does your uncle live with your mom? Does your uncle live with your mom?
No.
Do you think you could live with your uncle?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to set bond at $500. Because there's no witness here, I'm going to order that you have no contact with your mother. You can't return to 1882 Tillstream Drive except one time with law enforcement to obtain some personal belongings. So no contact with Moniz Novembre. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. Is there anything else, Ms. Worrell, that you would request?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, sir. Navek Torres, is that you, ma'am? All right, this is case number 22MM7924. Ma'am, you were arrested for battery domestic violence.
Yes, sir.
There is probable cause. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you qualify for representation by the public defender, so I will appoint that office to represent you. You qualify for direct pretrial release, so I'm going to order direct pretrial release. Looks like you do not live with the alleged victim, so I'm simply going to order that you not have contact with Alexander Pagan Morales while the case is pending, right? You may not possess any weapons or firearms. Anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Are you Mr. Bright?
Bright was a bond?
Jaquan Javon? Oh, no, that's not right. Nico Jaquan Bright? He bonded, I'm sorry. You said bond, I thought you were. All right, Isaiah Caban? All right. All right, sir, you were arrested. This is 22 CF 13705. You were arrested for possession of cannabis greater than 20 grams. There is probable cause. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. So I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you because you do qualify. You qualify for direct pretrial release, so I'm going to release you on pretrial release conditions. Also, you may not possess any drugs or narcotics without a valid prescription, okay? That'll be a condition of your release as well. Okay, thank you. All right, Victor de Jesus Melendez. 22 CF 13699. Good afternoon, sir. Mr. De Jesus, is that your name?
Yes, sir.
All right. You were charged with fleeing, attempting to elude a law enforcement officer, driving with no motorcycle license, and resisting an officer without violence. There is probable cause for your arrest. You do not qualify for public defender representation, but you can hire a lawyer, okay? So when you next go to court, if you don't have a lawyer by then, they'll give you a date to come back and tell them your status with regard to hiring a lawyer. You qualify for direct pretrial release conditions, and so that's what I'm going to grant. All right, anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham? On those charges, I think regular pretrial release conditions are fine, okay? Thanks, sir. All right, Justin Duda. All right, we'll recall him tomorrow.
Your Honor, we'd waive his appearance.
Waive his appearance, all right. So the public defender will be provisionally appointed to represent Mr. Duda. He was arrested for burglary of a structure, aggravated battery, great bodily harm, and criminal mischief. There is probable cause. Seems to me the bond is set on the higher bond is on the less concerning charge. All right, so burglary of a structure, count one, $3,500. I'm gonna set count two at $2,500. Count three will remain at 100. So I'm gonna increase count two to 2,500 based on the nature of the aggravated battery and the injuries that are alleged. Conditions of release will be that he may not use or possess any drugs or narcotics, must not possess any weapons or firearms, may not have any contact with his co-defendant and who is also the alleged victim of the aggravated assault. Anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Hawkins? Is that you, Mr. Hawkins? All right, sir. You were charged with possession of MDMA or ecstasy. There's probable cause. I had some concerns about what I read, but I think there is probable cause. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. So I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. I'm going to release you on your own recognizance with the condition that you maintain contact with the Public Defender's Office, okay? So you're going to be receiving notice of your court dates through the public defender. 'Cause there's no address listed for you here. So you're going to have to stay in touch with your public defender to know when you're supposed to be in court. If you fail to appear in court, then they're going to put you in jail and maybe not give you a bond, okay?
Sure.
All right, take care, sir.
Maria Hyatt is behavior.
All right, what would you like to do with Ms. Hyatt, Ms. Cunningham?
We'd waive her appearance.
All right, so she was unable to sign, so I'm only going to provisionally appoint the public defender on case number 22 CF7. That's 13692, actually. And also in 22 CF 7543. I think I'm reading that right. Not sure what that number is under there. Oh, that's inmate number. Okay, so the case number is 22 CF 13692.
Your Honor,
Yes.
she is appointed to our office on the cases she's out on bond for, so we'd ask the court to appoint us to this one. The court has already found that she is indigent.
I think I need her to sign because we're required to assess that fee, and I don't know if the clerk's office needs a signature to do that.
Yes, Your Honor.
So let's just provisionally appoint. But I understand where you're coming from. I would otherwise be glad to do that. All right, she was charged with petty theft with 2 prior convictions, and there was probable cause. Her bond is $1,000, and I'm going to stay that amount in order that she not return to Walgreens at 190 South Orange Avenue. I guess that's the address. Anyway, she is out on bond actually she's out on ROR in case number 22 CF 6843, and that ROR will be revoked and she'll be held pretrial detention pursuant to statute. All right, Gregory Martin.
Refusal.
All right.
Your Honor, we'd waive his appearance.
All right, I'll provisionally appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Martin. That's 22 CF 13694. He does not qualify for direct pretrial release. He was charged with petty theft with 2 prior convictions and resisting without violence. There is probable cause. He is going to be granted bond $1,000 on count 1, $500 on count 2, with conditions not to return to the Exxon station at 8220 South Orange Blossom Trail and Burlington Coat Factory at 8204 South Orange Blossom Trail. Anything else, Ms. Worrell?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Lawrence Peterson?
Your Honor, we waive the reading of the charges in this case.
Okay. Are all of these PBLs? In other words, am I required to set a bond on 1 or 2 of the counts? The information I have doesn't give me that information. All right. Mr. Peterson, good afternoon, sir. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, sir, and I'm going to provisionally appoint, well, actually, if they can have you sign this, we can do it today. Ms. Cunningham, if somebody would come get the affidavit.
I'm looking up the statutes.
Count 2.
Your Honor, count 2 is a PBL. I'm looking up the other.
Well, I'm looking at the affidavit. The affidavit is different from the arrest affidavit. So the affidavit for the warrant did not include a weapon on that count. All right. So I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent Mr. Peterson based on a signed affidavit of indigency. Sir, the state, well, you were arrested on 3 charges. Ms. Cunningham has waived the reading of those charges. At least one of the charges is punishable by life. Which would be count 1 for sure. So bond will remain at 0 on that count, and the division judge can take up the matter.
I believe defense said as to count 2 is a PBL as well.
Even without the weapon? The affidavit.
I read the warrant, Judge, and I know that in the narrative.
It calls for it in the narrative.
It absolutely does.
Okay. All right, so count 2 then will remain at 0 as well, and you're correct, the narrative does say that. And I believe count 3, I believe the.
Your Honor, I believe they're all PBLs.
Okay, so then all 3 counts will remain at 0, and the division judge will be able to conduct a full Arthur hearing if that's what the state wishes to pursue. All right, in the meantime, I'm also going to order there be no contact with the alleged victim. And I'll leave other conditions up to the division judge when he or she sets the any bonds. I'm not setting any conditions since there's no bond. I'm just saying no contact at this point. And then the division judge can set whatever conditions they want. Next case, Aurora Porter. (22 CF 13693). Good afternoon, Ms. Porter.
Sir.
Ma'am, you were arrested for possession of MDMA or ecstasy. There was probable cause, although I have some questions about the search. But for today's purposes, there was probable cause. All right, Ms. Worrell, Ms. Porter is out on bond in 22 CF 5935. Under the circumstances, I'm considering whether I should leave that bond in place.
Give me a moment to look up that case, Your Honor, please.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes.
I'd just like to make the court aware that a notice of incompetence has been filed in the case that she's out on bond for.
That's what I was wondering. That's what I was about to look up. So that was, has there been an evaluation or just an appointment of a doctor?
It's scheduled, it's not court ordered, it's confidential, but a notice of incompetence was filed with the court and the evaluation has been scheduled for next month.
Is it on a competency docket or?
It's set for a status in January. I can look and see what type of status.
If a notice was filed,
It should be.
a doctor should have been appointed.
Well, Your Honor, just because a notice is filed, the doctor wouldn't get appointed unless we're asking for a court-ordered evaluation. So because the public defender had competency concerns, that's why they did do it, and then we have a confidential evaluation that's scheduled for December 22nd.
Right. We've had this conversation in Osceola quite a bit. I think if the notice is filed, that triggers the obligation. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, ma'am.
In Your Honor, it just says it's set for a status hearing in front of Judge Harris on January 24th. It doesn't state which type.
It's probably been moved to the competency. I think that's what happens informally quite a bit.
And I agree, Your Honor, that's normally what happens because I'm not in front of Judge Harris. I'm just not sure what status this is set on.
Yeah. It's set for a competency status. I just pulled it up.
But the NOI was filed on September 1st.
All right, so I'm going to leave the, I'm not going to revoke the bond under those circumstances, okay? And under the circumstances of this case, I'm going to reduce the bond. I'm going to reduce the bond in this case to $250.
I'm sorry,
All right.
was that 250 or 150?
250.
Thank you.
And Ms. Porter, you can't possess any drugs or narcotics without a prescription, and you must comply with all conditions of your bond in your other case, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Take care. Yeah, I think I did. So provisionally. I thought I announced it, but maybe I didn't. It's been a long day. So PD is provisionally appointed to represent Ms. Porter. Mr. Robbins. Good afternoon, Mr. Robbins.
Good afternoon.
Sir, this is case number 22 CF 13702. You were arrested for grand theft of more than $750 and less than $5,000. There is probable cause. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and the public defender is going to be appointed. I'm appointing them to represent you. You do qualify based on the affidavit that you filed. All right, I'm going to reduce your bond, sir, to $1,000. I'm going to order that you not return to 855 East Plant Street in Winter Park. May not have any contact with anyone who works at that location while they are at work. And I'm going to order that you maintain contact with your public defender. Oh, actually, wait. Back up. You qualify for direct pretrial release, so scratch the bond. I'm going to eliminate the bond and release you on pretrial release. And I'm going to order that you maintain contact with the Public Defender's Office. Okay?
Judge, I just want to state for the record, 855 East Plant Street is in Winter Garden, so I want to make sure that the defendant is clear on where he's not to return to.
Thank you. Yeah, 855 East Plant Street in Winter Garden. You can't go there or within 500 feet of there, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, take care. Morel Shealy.
Yes, sir.
All right, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is case number 22 CF 13698. Mr. Shealy, you were arrested for possession of cocaine. You don't qualify for direct pretrial release. But I'm going to reduce your bond. I'm going to order your release ROR, but I'm going to order that you maintain contact with the Public Defender's Office, okay? Because that's how you're going to know when your court dates are.
Yes.
So that's a condition of your release, is that you maintain contact with the Public Defender's Office. I'm appointing the Public Defender's Office to represent you based on the affidavit that you've signed, okay?
Yes, sir.
There is probable cause for the charge of possession of cocaine. All right, is there anything else, Ms. Cunningham, I need to address?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Worrell?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Angel Valle. Good afternoon, sir. You were arrested, Mr. Valle, for possession of cocaine, possession of drug paraphernalia, and resisting an officer without violence. There is probable cause for your arrest. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you qualify for representation by the public defender, so I'm appointing that office to represent you. I'm going to reduce your bonds to ROR, but I'm going to make a condition of your ROR that you maintain contact with the Public Defender's Office, okay? That's how you're going to know when you have to be in court. So if you don't appear in court, your release will be revoked. Do you understand? All right, great. Take care. Brian Wilson. Good afternoon, Mr. Wilson.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, you were arrested on a warrant for possession of MDMA, which is also known as ecstasy. There was probable cause. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and you do qualify for appointment of the public defender, so I'm going to appoint that office to represent you. Do you have any income, Mr. Wilson?
Not at the time, sir. No, sir. I'm in the middle of moving and everything.
Problem is you have 3 failures to appear, so I'm reluctant to.
That's not, I always appear, sir. That must be somebody else. I never have had a FTA.
Well, challenge with FTAs is if you don't appear, sometimes you may not know you didn't appear. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to release you ROR, but I'm going to order as a condition of the release that you maintain contact with the public defender's office.
Yes, sir.
All right? So if you fail to appear for court, it's probably going to result in your release being revoked. Do you understand?
Thank you so much, sir. I do understand completely.
All right, well, stay in touch with the public defender, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, Joseph Wren. Good afternoon, sir. Mr. Wren, you were arrested for 2 counts of petty theft with 2 prior theft convictions, possession of drugs or narcotics without a prescription, and resisting an officer without violence. There is a probable cause. Based on the circumstances and based on your history, your very recent release, and the 2 failures to appear, I'm going to stay the bonds at the amounts they're currently set at, which is $2,500 each on counts 1 and 2, $1,000 on count 3, $500 on count 4. You may not return to Bell's Outlet at 2302 East Cimarron Boulevard in Orlando. You may not possess any drugs or narcotics without a prescription, okay? Yes, public defender will be appointed. Mr. Wren has filed a sworn application.
Today's just a bond. And then you sign up, hold on. Sign up for the defender, and this is what you need to talk to them about. Because today, you'll be able to resolve it. You're gonna have to we gotta continue, but this is something you have to sign. Okay, I understand that. And you can keep your mouth shut.
Mr. Wren, we're done, okay?
And then you speak to your public defender, okay? Sir?
All right. Tammy Pinkney, is that you? All right. Ma'am, you were arrested on a warrant for failure to appear. There's a $500 bond.
I didn't know nothing about that, sir.
I don't know anything about it either, other than that you failed to appear on October 12th, 2021, and the judge issued a warrant for your arrest. Okay.
Ma'am, they set a bond on the $500 bond, okay? So you can bond out. But you had a court date that you didn't show.
Let me look at something real quick.
Keep your mask up.
2015.
So this was a 2016 case. Ms. Pinkney was not arrested until
Your Honor, I don't know that she was ever arrested. There was a summons that.
that's what I'm just seeing that. It was return served August 6th of 2021. All right. Well, in any event, ma'am, you have a bond of $500, okay? So,
Can you give me a break to pay a little by little if I have to?
can I give you a break in what?
Can you give me a break to pay a little by little if I have to?
Well, that's not the way bonds work.
I'm not working right now since the corona.
Well, there are lots of places that need people, so Corona's not really an excuse anymore. Bond's gonna remain at $500. I'm appointing the public defender to represent Ms. Pinckney. She does qualify. All right. Next, we have Cincy Pritchett, 22 CT 1543. Is that how you pronounce your name, sir?
What name did you have?
What's your name?
My name is Robert Spencer.
Spencer, Mr. Spencer, okay. So before Mr. Spencer, I had Ms. Pritchett. Is she back there?
Rhonda, do you have a booking number on that affidavit? It should say 22027, some numbers, right?
27583?
Bonded.
Okay, so she bonded. So Mr. Spencer, you have two cases, sir. The first case is 22 CT 5900, and in that case, you were arrested on a warrant for failure to appear. At arraignment, and there is no bond. And in case number 22 CT 5899, you were arrested for failure to appear, and there is no bond. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer in both of those cases, and you do qualify for appointment based on the affidavit that you filed, so I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, okay? All right, thank you, sir. We're slowly getting through the stack. All right, Salvador Neris.
Yes,
All right,
yes,
good
Your Honor.
afternoon, sir.
Your Honor, may I be heard on this case?
Sure, let me work my way through it first. All right, so you were charged with petty theft in case number 22 7931. You're entitled to be represented by a lawyer, and so I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you based on the affidavit that has been filed. You're also out on release in a couple of cases, 2020 CT 2422 and 22 CF 9130.
Yes, I'm awaiting,
All right, hold on. You don't need to say anything. Ms. Cunningham, what would you like to argue?
Yeah, well, it's not argument, but the state has offered diversion for this case. For that reason, we'd ask for the court to ROR him and then take no action on the cases he's out on. I've gotten his information, his address, phone number, and email address so that I can give to the coordinator of pretrial diversion.
I'm not going to do that simply because some judges like to have some status hearings on diversions. And I want the division judge to be able to kind of have some control over the case. I also am concerned that this is a person who has two pending cases and then picks up a new case. I'm not heartless, but it's concerning, and I'm not sure this is someone who is
Your Honor.
candidate for diversion.
He would like the court to be aware that he has provided proof that he's starting a new job tomorrow. So we'd like the court to take that into, consideration.
Well, again, all right, I'm going to leave bond at $500. Going to order that Mr. Neris not return to Old Navy. I'm going to revoke his ROR in case number 22 CF 9130. And I'm going to order, revoke his release in 2020 CT 2422. This indicates he was out by court order. It doesn't indicate what type of release. All right, thank you. Public defender is appointed. All right, Dimitri Pierre. 22 MM 7930. Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre. Sir, you were arrested in this case for petty theft, resisting a merchant, battery, and resisting an officer without violence. There is probable cause.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
The state has offered an adjudication of guilt in 45 days in the Orange County Jail. Would the court be willing to take that?
No, not on a misdemeanor. Thank you. And not at 4 p.m. on a Saturday either, but, all right, so, I'm going to, leave bond at $500 per count, with the condition not to return to, 3001 East Colonial Drive, Burlington Coat Factory, and no contact with the alleged victim or with any Burlington employees while they're on the clock at work. Also going to revoke his release on 22 MM 5836 and 22 CF 13284. He'll be held on pretrial detention pursuant to statute on those cases. Public defender is appointed. Mr. Pierre does qualify based on the affidavit in the file, so the public defender will be appointed to represent him in this case. All right, thank you, sir. Brian Reeves.
Your Honor, would the court be willing to take a credit time served offer on this case?
On this one, I would. This is a city ordinance. 22 MO 1301. Mr. Reeves, you're entitled to be represented by a lawyer. You qualify for appointment of the public defender, so I'm going to appoint the public defender to represent you. You were charged with urinating in public, and there is probable cause. Thank you. Sir, how many years of school have you completed?
16.
All right, raise your right hand to be sworn. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
So you have a college degree?
Yes.
You read and understand English?
Yes.
Did you read this form before you signed it?
Yes.
You understand everything on the form?
Yes.
You understand you're giving all your trial rights up by entering the plea?
Yes.
You understand you're giving up most of your appeal rights too?
Yes.
All right, so by entering the plea, I'm going to adjudicate you guilty and sentence you to a jail term with credit for the time you've served. And you're only going to be able to challenge the court's authority and whether the court imposed a legal sentence. Do you understand? All right. Do you have any complaints about the representation you've been given today?
No, sir.
All right. Are you under the influence of anything that would impair your understanding today?
No.
Are you thinking clearly?
Yes.
All right. All right, to the charge of urinating in public, how do you wish to plea?
Guilty.
And are you pleading guilty because you are in fact guilty?
Yes.
All right, I accept your plea. You're competent, coherent, and alert. You freely, voluntarily, and intelligently waived your rights, and understanding the charges and consequences of the plea. You've been represented by a competent lawyer. You're satisfied with the public defender's representation. There's a factual basis for the plea based on the affidavit in the court file. That is sworn. All right. Is there anything you wish to say before I impose sentence, Mr. Reeves?
No.
All right. How many days credit does he have?
2, Your Honor.
All right. So I'm going to adjudicate you guilty of the municipal ordinance violation of urinating in public. You'll be sentenced to 2 days in the county jail. You'll have credit for 2 days time served. Madam Clerk, would you announce costs? That includes PD and everything, $273, and we'll reduce that to civil judgment. Mr. Reeves, that's going to be a judgment of public record like any other judgment. So if you ignore it, the amount's going to grow, okay? All right, you have the right to appeal. Any notice of appeal has to be filed within 30 days of today's date. The court would appoint a lawyer to represent you if you cannot afford one. Okay, take care, sir. All right, we have Tristan. No, who's this? Ah, okay. That's a Seminole County. All right, so Tristan Aniotse, I can't pronounce that name, will be reset for tomorrow. Is this Ms. Gilmore? All right, Ms. Gilmore, good afternoon. You were arrested for a warrant out of Seminole County for failure to appear at a pretrial conference. There is a $1,000 bond. Ms. Cunningham, this is one where the bond wasn't attached. Is there anything that you want to place on the record?
Your Honor, because it's out of county, I don't really get anything on it.
All right. All right, you'll be, I'm provisionally appointing the Public Defender's Office. If anything arises, you need help locally, they can help you locally. Otherwise, you'll be transported to Seminole County where you'll see a judge if you don't post the bond.
Okay.
And then you can talk to the judge about conditions of release there. Okay, thank you. Jimenez, Jonathan Jimenez, all right. Good afternoon, sir. This is you were arrested on a warrant out of Polk County. You have a bond of $1,000 there. If you don't post bond, you'll be transported to Polk County where you'll see a judge and can have an attorney appointed there and talk about conditions of release there, okay? The public defender here will be provisionally appointed to represent you in case you need help locally before you're transported, okay? Don't talk about your case, but.
Just about the bond. Can you lower the bond like to 500?
Well, that's a Polk County judge's bond, so I'm not, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sammy Ortiz.
Xavier? Your Honor, if we were provisionally appointed, I'd waive his appearance.
All right, so you are provisionally appointed. He was arrested on out-of-county warrants from Hillsborough County. And it's a violation of probation and there is no bond.
And Your Honor, Anna Weiss, the first one for
Right.
Allen County, I wasn't The first person that we had for out of county,
Tristan Anonise?
yes, I didn't know that you were provisionally appointing us to these, but if we are provisionally appointed to him, I can also waive his appearance as well.
Okay, I can address it. The reason I do that is in case there's any hiccup and they get stuck here and they may need somebody. Usually it doesn't amount to anything, but. So I'll provisionally appoint Mr. Anonise to be represented by the Public Defender's Office. He was arrested He was arrested for a pretrial release violation for tampering with an electronic monitoring device. So he will be transported to Seminole County. But the public defender is provisionally appointed in case he needs any assistance before he's transported. All right, Summersall, Thomas Summersall.
Ron, you have a booking number?
Don't. I'm sorry.
2202-7504.
Bond it.
All right. We took care of Mr. Mackey earlier, I believe. And so then the last one is going to be Wasi Kemp.
Ron, have his booking number?
Inmate number? Oh, okay. 220-27586.
Bond it, Your Honor.
All right. All right, and that's it. Anything else, Ms. Worrell or Ms. Cunningham?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be adjourned.